Hey guys! Okay, we're starting with Chapter 4, The Keeper of the Keys of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Alright, so if you remember in Chapter 3, we left off with this banging on the door, and Uncle Vernon kind of went crazy and took the family away and put them in this, shack in the middle of the ocean, and it was raining outside really hard, and it just turned midnight. It was Harry's birthday, and when it turned midnight on Harry's birthday, there was a knock on the door, which, again, we're in a shack in the middle of the ocean. Crazy that someone's knocking on the door. So they knocked on the door again, and everyone's up. The whole family is awake, and they are all staring at the door, seeing who's trying to come in. So then you have this giant, and they don't say who it is, but it says a giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long shaggy mane of hair and a wild tangled beard, but you could make out his eyes glinting like black beetles under all the hair. So based on Chapter 1 and the notes we took, you can figure out by that character description that that man is probably Hagrid, because Hagrid was described as a giant with a lot of hair. So he squeezed into the hut, and the door had come off its hinges, so he put the door back up on the wall. The first thing he says is, "Could you make a cup of tea?" And no one really responds. Everyone's just staring at this guy. Uncle Vernon has a gun, and when Hagrid was, trying to get in, he was like, "I have a gun, I warn you, I'm armed." It's nothing to Hagrid. Hagrid's a giant. So, he told Dudley to move off the couch, because that's where he wanted to sit. And then he's like, "Oh, and there's Harry." And he said, "The last time I saw you, you was only a baby," said the giant. "You look a lot like your dad, but you've got your mom's eyes." And then before Harry could respond to that statement about his parents, Uncle Vernon was like, "I demand you leave at once, sir. You are breaking and entering." Dursley says, "Shut up," bends the gun into a knot, and throws it. So, again, it was a nothing to him. And then you have this idea that the first thing that this giant really says to Harry has to do with Harry's parents. And you know from your readings that the Dursleys were not open to speaking about Harry's parents. And this giant breaks in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of a storm. And the first thing he says to Harry is that he looks like his parents. So it's a very odd situation. And then he says that he has a birthday present for him, and he made him a chocolate cake, and it says "Happy Birthday, Harry" on it. And Harry tries to say thank you, but he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm trying to get better on the time of these videos. So basically, he says, "I'm Rubeus Hagrid, but everyone calls me Hagrid, and I'm the keeper of keys at Hogwarts." And then he turns on the fire in the fireplace. He uses magic, turns on the fire. And then he realizes no one's going to make any tea. So he makes tea, and he also makes 6 slightly burnt sausages. And Dudley sees, he moves, he wants some. And Uncle Vernon's like, "Don't eat anything this man gives you, Dudley." And Hagrid's like, "Okay, whatever." And then he says, "Your great puddin' of a son don't need fattening anymore, Dursley. Don't worry," calling Dudley fat. And then Harry eats all the sausages and says he's never tasted anything so wonderful. So this is a great, kind stranger that knows a lot about Harry. And he's like, after he finishes eating, he's like, "Who are you?" Because he doesn't know. He has no idea what Hogwarts is. He has no idea what's happening. He just was like, "Food, what's up?" And so he says, "I'm sorry, but I still don't know who you are." He says, "Call me Hagrid. And like I said, I'm from Hogwarts." And Harry's like, I'm unfamiliar. And Hagrid looked shocked. And so Hagrid loses it on the Dursleys. He's like, "How could you not know how could you not tell this boy? How could he not know who his parents were?" And Hagrid's like, "Don't you wonder where your parents learned it all?" And Harry says, "Learned what?" And he's like, "This boy doesn't know anything about anything." And it says, Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school after all, and his marks weren't bad. "I know some things," he said. "I can, do math and stuff." sassy Harry thinks he means he doesn't know anything, as in he's ignorant, he's stupid. So Hagrid's like, no, about your world, my world, our world, your parents' world. And Harry's like, what are you talking about? So he continues to freak out, he being Hagrid, continues to freak out on the Dursleys and just says, like, how could this boy not know? And he says, you're famous. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm not famous. I'm not famous. My parents weren't famous. And so he says, you don't know what you are. And then Uncle Vernon says, I forbid you to tell this boy anything. And he says, go boil your heads, the both of you, said Hagrid. Harry, you're a wizard. And so now it's out in the open. He gives Harry his letter. It says Headmaster Albus Dumbledore, and like we talked about in class, Headmaster Albus Dumbledore would be like the principal. And it says, we're pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So then it's signed Professor McGonagall, and she's the deputy headmistress, which we kind of discussed being like the assistant principal kind of position. So he has just a ton of questions, and he says, what does it mean they await my owl? Because the letter said they await his response by owl by July 31st. And Hagrid's like, oh yeah, I need to tell Dumbledore that I got in touch with you. So Hagrid pulls out this owl out of his pocket and writes a letter to Dumbledore and sends it. And so Harry's getting a very quick lesson in this whole new kind of world. And it says that Hagrid thought this was just as normal as talking on the telephone. And again, Uncle Vernon said he's not going to Hogwarts. He's not going. And so we highlighted in green, just where it says he's not going, he said, because remember, green is our motif of choice, in saying that Uncle Vernon was trying to keep this choice of going to Hogwarts away from Harry. And then he said, like, a muggle like you is going to stop him. And we find out muggle, finally we've learned the term, is directed at someone who is a non-magic person. And then we find out Aunt Petunia knew all along that Harry was a wizard. And we find out that the whole time she was like, of course, just like in the movie, she's just that horribly snide person and says, of course I knew. How could you not be my perfect sister, being who she was? When you see the movie, you'll just see how perfectly this actress, like, totally encaptures Aunt Petunia. And she just says that Lily was a freak and her parents were so excited and it was Lily this and Lily that. And so you come to find out that the reason that Aunt Petunia was so harsh on Harry was because he was actually kind of doing to Harry what she thought was done to her, because Lily was the favorite child of the two. It was always, Lily is a witch, Lily is wonderful, Lily is magical, and then Petunia. So she's actually favoriting Dudley in the same way that her parents favorited Lily and is treating Harry terribly. Obviously, Aunt Petunia was not treated as badly as Harry, but you can see where this hatred of Lily and the Potters is coming from. And then she says, the last thing she says is, and if you please, she went and got herself blown up, and we got landed with you. The whole time she's been telling Harry they died in a car crash, don't ask questions. Car crash, don't ask questions. And now we find out they got blown up. So then Harry's like, what's happening? And Hagrid says, I did not realize how much you didn't know. I don't think I'm the right person to tell you, but you need to know. So Hagrid goes into this great big long spiel. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because it's like a page and a half. But he says that it's a man named Voldemort killed his parents. And it was dark times. It was about 20 years ago. And you didn't trust anybody you didn't already know, because this guy named Voldemort was going around trying to collect followers because he was a very, very bad man. Hagrid shuddered when he had to say the name Voldemort to tell Harry his name, because no one to this day still speaks his name. That's what a bad dude he was. And he said that Dumbledore was the only person Voldemort was afraid of, and the only safe place left was Hogwarts. And so he said that Mr. and Mrs. Potter were the greatest people in the world, and he thinks Voldemort just didn't try to, like, convert them to the bad side because he knew what good people they were, and because he knew that they were probably loyal to to Dumbledore. And so he went to where they were all living on Halloween night, and he tried to convince the Potters to join their side, and obviously it didn't work. So Hagrid said, he said that he might have just liked killing by then, but he killed your mom and dad, and he tried to kill Harry to make a clean job of it, like no witnesses, and maybe he just liked killing by then, but he couldn't do it. You never wonder how you got that mark on your forehead. It was no ordinary cut. That's what you get when a powerful evil curse touches you. Took care of your mom and dad and your house even, but it didn't work on you, and that's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after he decided to kill him. No one except for you. So now we find out, full circle, Harry lived this attack on Voldemort. The house was in ruins. His parents were dead, but Harry survived, and that's why he's famous. That's where the scar comes from being touched by an evil curse. And then Hagrid finishes his story by saying, I took you from the ruined house myself on Dumbledore's orders. And that's where the novel started, because Dumbledore sent Hagrid to go get Harry and bring him to Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon's house. So then Uncle Vernon says a bunch of bad things about Harry's parents, and Hagrid stands up for them. And then Harry says, what happened to you-know-who? And he says, good question. He disappeared. He vanished the same night he tried to kill you, which is what makes you even more famous, and that's the biggest mystery. He was getting more powerful. Why did he go? Some say he died, but I don't know if he had enough human left to die in him. Some say he's still out there biding his time, but I don't believe it. So he's just gone. Like, there's no explanation. Some people, like, no one really thinks he died, but they know he's just gone. And it happened the exact moment he tried to kill Harry. He just disappeared and hasn't been heard from since. So Harry has a moment where he's like, there's no way I'm a wizard. I've spent my whole life being bullied. How is it possible that I'm a wizard? And Hagrid says, you're not a wizard. Have you ever made anything happen when you were scared or angry? And then you have this, Harry has this realization, like we talked about in class, where he's done the thing with the sweater, where the sweater got too small. He grew his hair back, he freed the boa constrictor, and then he jumped to the school roof. And he didn't mean to do any of those things, but all of those things happened when he was scared or angry. And then, again, Uncle Vernon's like, I'm not allowing it. And he says, Hagrid says, he'll be under the greatest headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. You won't stop him. And Uncle Vernon screams, I'm not paying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks. And Hagrid, ever loyal to Dumbledore, says, never insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. He takes out his umbrella and he poofs it toward Dudley, and Dudley grows a pig's tail. He doesn't turn all the way into a pig, but a pigtail pops out his butt, and he is literally has a pigtail. And so they leave the room and shut the door, and Hagrid's like, I shouldn't have lost my temper. Technically, I'm not supposed to do magic. And Harry's like, why are you supposed to do magic? And he says, I was expelled. And Dumbledore let me stay on just to work at the school, but I got expelled the third year at Hogwarts. And Harry says, what did you get expelled for? And Dumbledore's like, and Hagrid's like, time to go! And then they just leave, and you never find out why Hagrid got expelled. If you're interested in that, you have to read the second book. And then they leave off into the storm, and Hagrid gives Harry his coat to put on, and he said, don't mind the wiggle in. I think I still have mice in one of the pockets. End of chapter 4. A lot happened. We find out a lot of information about Harry's backstory, Voldemort, his parents. Everything kind of got cleared up. Everything came full circle. So now we understand all the mysteries we weren't quite understanding in chapters 1 through 3. I know this went on a little long. I'm sorry. Extra credit question. What color was my nail polish? No, that's not fair because I don't even know what color that is, to be honest. Your extra credit is bring in a random pair of shorts. Bring a pair of shorts in your backpack. I don't care what kind of shorts, basketball shorts, running shorts, jean shorts, jorts, khakis. Bring an extra pair of shorts in your backpack and show it to me tomorrow, which would be April 5th and April 6th. Bring an extra pair of shorts in your backpack and show it to me at the start of class, and I will give you 5 extra credit points added to your quiz. All right, email me with questions. Bye.